Welcome to another episode of the Alamo City Sportscast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your hosts as it helps the show grow.
Happy Halloween. This is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from the west side of San Antonio. My name's Mike Jimenez. I was under the impression that we had to wear a uniform or a costume or something for Halloween because Joe Garcia told me all week long, wear your referee outfit, right?
Yeah,
wear
it's
your
a
outfit.
costume.
So I guess for Halloween, I am Spernandez as a referee.
No. You're Fernandez from Wish or Temu.
Some fouls tomorrow.
Yeah, no, man. I woke up super early today. My daughter, she stayed here yesterday. Didn't go back to the dorms. And I had to take her to work this morning, dude. I had to wake up at 6 a.m., man. So I'm
Brutal.
on fumes right now, bro.
Fumes.
And dude, I haven't even started my real job yet.
I'm not on fumes, baby. I am amped the F up today. I am excited. You know why, Joe? Because dozens of people, 200 people have liked my tweet from yesterday when I said that Pop is washed. And Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5 came up and was like, cook him, right? Retweeted me, cook him. Look what he's up to, Spurs fans. And guess what? Did I get cooked? No. Yes, everyone came to my side. Not everybody, but let's go ahead and say that 90 to 95% of the people who responded was like, you know what? We may not like Michael. He might be an acquired taste, Joe, but I think he's been right about this all along. Spurs lost 105 to 93. Wemby with one of his career lows, 6 points on 1 of 5 shooting. They say that he has the sniffles, that he has allergies, but really 6 points. Jeremy Sohan with 17. Harrison Barnes had 18. Malachi Branham with 15. Spurs lost 105 to 93, and it really wasn't even that close, man. They were outclassed by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Big night by Chet Holmgren. Remember the runner-up for Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
19 points on 7 of 10 shooting. He knocked down all 3 3-point attempts. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, off night, but still had 18 points. Dort had 20. Jalen Williams, 12. It wasn't even close. Oklahoma City Thunder still undefeated right now, beating the Spurs 105 to 93. But it brought up the topic about Gregg Popovich. It brought up the topic about Victor Wembanyama and what the hell is going on. We're 4 games into the season, and already Spurs fans are getting pissed the F off, and wow. I don't blame them. We've had 5 years in a row of losing seasons. This is going to be losing season number 6, and on top of that, we're looking at the lineup, Joe, going, this team doesn't match. The talent's not there. On top of it all, they don't gel together. On top of it all, Jeremy Sohan is leading the team again in field goal attempts. Why is Jeremy Sohan going out there and shooting the ball 16 times after he shot it 19 times against the Rockets on Monday? What the hell is going on?
You know what I wanted to point out here? This is funny to me because I was looking at older articles from 2021 when DeMar DeRozan was here with the team, right?
Right.
We had Lonnie Walker. And this is funny to me because the things that they were saying about the Spurs back then in 2021 are still prevalent today. And it says that the lack of reliable three-point shooting and shot creation can only be overcome with near elite defense, which the team can't consistently play.
Again, like the Cowboys can't stop the run, and they can't run themselves. Spurs can't shoot the 3, and they can't defend the 3. Spurs right now shot 12 for 36 for 33% yesterday from 3 behind the arc. OKC Thunder 17 of 41 for 42%. Again, the Spurs turnover city 22. Joe,
that ain't
22. And you know what? The sentiment changed yesterday. I cannot overstress that. By the way, our YouTube stream is up right now. Thank you for the more than 1,000 subscribers out there. You can leave a message and we'll read the best ones out there.
I like this comment. This is the best one so far.
It's Mike, a Foot Locker manager. Damn straight I am. Whatever it takes to make money, man. Hey, but the sentiment changed. You know, if we had asked this question 4 games ago, Joe, we have Matt Lairma on the stream, and he was giving me crap online yesterday about it all. There were about 60% of fans out there who were saying, in Pop we trust, right? It used to be 90%, went down to 80%, went down to about 65%, Joe. Remember that poll that I posted just 2 weeks ago? I'm going to post the same exact poll today, and I will guarantee you that 65% will say, no, it's time for Pop to go. Matt Lerma, as much as we love him, and he does the Twitter Spaces, is a fantastic job. He's on the Titanic as it's sinking right now, and that Titanic is the USS Gregg Popovich. We're done. We're tired of him. The last time we've seen fire out of that guy, he was yelling at the crowd about booing Kawhi Leonard. We're done. We're done with these lineups. We're done with that offense. It's not working. We're done with Jeremy Sohan shooting the ball 16 and 19 times a game. We're done with whatever they're doing with Victor Wembanyama. Dude, I have come to the conclusion, Joe, yeah, that Chet Holmgren might have been the runner-up, but he's going to get more rings than Victor Wembanyama. And he's going to be maybe even considered a greater player than Victor Wembanyama because he's on a better team. And who, by the way, that OKC Thunder team, youngest team still in the NBA. Yeah. Can't give this whole thing about, well, they've got a lot of, grizzled veterans. No, they just draft well. They do the right trades. They traded for SGA. They get like a Steven Adams. I mean, Steven Adams with Houston. I'm thinking of Dort, by the way. They get certain players on their team. They drafted Jalen Williams. Spurs got Sohan. They got Jalen Williams. I think last night was a watershed moment, not only because the sentiment changed on Pop, at least on Spurs Twitter anyway. I think it was a watershed moment, Joe, because we saw how far away we are from what it takes to be a championship team. Last night, watching that game, 105-93, wasn't even that close. We saw like, oh my God, we're not even in this league. We're a G League. We're closer to a G League team, Joe. Even having Wemby and a 5-time champion head coach, we're closer to being a G League championship team than an NBA championship team. And it was on full display yesterday on national TV how far we are. OKC Thunder is the class of the NBA in the Western Conference, and we need to do a change, dude. We need to do something, Joe. And I think Spurs fans are going to become like Cowboy fans and become apathetic. Could be like, remember back before Wemby? A third of the lower bowl was empty. I think we're going to go back to that. Joe, am I over-exaggerating this?
I think you're kind of over-exaggerating some aspects of what you're saying because it's only a couple games in the season, right? We still have 82. It's an 82-game season, so they still have to play the other games. But you can see that the Spurs do have some gaping holes here in their offense. And going back to, like I said, the article that I was reading, a little excerpt from 2021, Spurs still can't defend or shoot the three. And this has been something that has been an issue. Again, going back into 2020, 2021.
Blame the coach.
We're in 2024 now.
Blame the coach. Blame the coach.
It's the 2024-25 season. But let me finish the take. This is what I was going to say.
Sorry.
Besides what they did there, right? They can't defend the three, right? They can't shoot the three. This is where they currently stand right now, only a couple games in the season. Last year, remember I was telling you about pace, right? Yeah. How fast they play the game. They were third in pace, right, in the NBA. This year, they're 25 of 30. Mm-hmm. Defensive rating, they were almost dead last year, right? Defensive rating this year has gotten better. They're 11th of 30 teams right now in the NBA. Their offensive rating is abysmal, though. They're 29 out of 30, near the bottom. Near the bottom in pace, near the bottom in offensive rating. Offensive rating, they're all right, but a lot of the other aspects of their game, there's much to be desired there.
Chris Gonzalez reaches out to us and says, we're on an island with Wilson and Tom Hanks is floating away. What's the one below that one? Tony Ornelas. It says, even if the Spurs fire Pop, which they won't, you think a new coach brings more wins and makes this team play better? Yes. 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 I'm going to say from the rooftop, yes, a new coach will bring more wins to the Spurs team. Pop is washed. He's done. He
who are you gonna want, though?
Dude, who was the head coach yesterday for Oklahoma City Thunder? Mark Daigneault, right? 39 years old. 39.
But I'm saying, if you bring a new coach, what's it going to be?
Who cares? Becky Hammond, somebody.
You're going to have an interim coach.
Who cares? Mitch Johnson from the Spurs bench. Who cares? Bring somebody in. Bring somebody in. We need a head coach here, dude. We have a guy who's going to turn 76 years old. Joe, he is 5 years older than the oldest coach ever was in the NBA. He is 76 years old come January. The offense doesn't work. The defense doesn't work. And don't give me it's because of the players. Okay, yeah, maybe the talent's not there, but you can get more wins. Joe, what experience did Gregg Popovich have as a head coach before he took over the Spurs? None. He was a head coach at Pomona Pitzer D3 College. And he was an assistant coach under Larry Brown.
Yeah.
He had no experience. What experience did Mark Daigneault have? Well, he was an assistant head coach at Holy Cross at Florida. Then he was with the G League, and then he became an assistant coach with the Oklahoma City Thunder and became the head coach in 2020. What head coaching experience did Ime Udoka have? Joe Mazzulla. Let's look up Joe Mazzulla, head coach of the Boston Celtics, who, by the way, is 36 years old. Let's see his coaching career history. Glenville State as an assistant coach, Fairmont State as an assistant coach, Maine Red Claws as an assistant coach, Fairmont State as a head coach. He became an assistant coach for the Boston Celtics and then became the interim and then the head coach, and he's an NBA champion. This whole argument of, well, then who are you going to get is a straw man argument. It's not an argument at all because you just go get somebody else and you bring in new blood. D'Amico Ryans is doing well in Houston, right? Bill Belichick doesn't have a job because he's too old to coach. The only team stupid enough to hire Bill Belichick is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Dude, we need a new head coach. We need new blood. He should have left 5 or 6 years ago. And as I was reminded this morning when he was interviewed a while back asking why he hasn't retired, he said it was because of his ego. Yeah. I don't think he was joking. Dude, I was, along with James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star back in the day, we were the kings, the captains of Team Tank. No one wanted to jump on board. It was team we hooping. It was team, we're team playing, right? And it wasn't until the Spurs started losing games that we started looking at Wemby. We're like, man, that guy's actually pretty good out of France. Let's get that guy. And then the Spurs won the lottery, and all of the team hoop and team playing was like, okay, maybe Team Tank was right this time. But in Pop we trust, because you know what? He's a 5-time champion, and who better to coach a generational talent like Victor Wembanyama than a 5-time champion? Yeah, I know he's 74 years old, but he's young at heart, and he connects with players, and he drinks wine with them, Joe. He drinks wine, and he can philosophize with them, and he's such a good mentor, and he's such a good guy. Overlooking the fact that there's never been a 72-year-old head coach, never been a 73-year-old head coach, never been a 74-year-old head coach, never been a 75-year-old head coach, and soon to be never been a 76-year-old head coach. Dude, why do we get in our feels about loyalty? Okay, they say this about sports, Joe, about head coaching. The old saying is, you're hired to get fired. The best get fired or let go or get shown the door. Mike McCarthy is a Super Bowl champion. It's going to be shown the door this year, right? They're not going to fire him. They're going to let his contract run out. Belichick, let him walk out. Tom Landry, they fired his ass. You get hired to be fired. It doesn't matter what coach you are. Doesn't matter how many championships you have. You either leave when you're told to leave or you will exit gracefully. He should have exited gracefully 10 effing years ago. If Gregg Popovich had walked out the door in 2014 and walked out like a champion, like David Robinson did in 2003, the last image we have of David Robinson is him holding the trophy like this and Duncan next to him with the Finals MVP trophy. That's an image. Pop would have been considered the greatest coach of all time had he walked out in 2014, avenging the 2013 loss to the Miami Heat. The gut punch that was the Ray Allen shot in Game 6. Avenging that with a beautiful game, he would have been the GOAT of all time. Popovich is on the verge now of having 6 losing records in a row. You cannot be in the GOAT conversation with 6 losing records in a row. Yeah. Name me a head coach right now in any professional franchise, MLB, NFL, NBA. Name me any coach who keeps their job after losing seasons 6 in a row. I'll wait. Someone give me a reference here, because it doesn't exist. R.C. Buford, Brian Wright, the front office needs to show him the door. Give him a front office job. Give him an office, emeritus status within the Spurs franchise. But he needs to go. Because you know what? Because if he stays, guess who's going to go, Joe?
Oh,
Victor Wembanyama's going to go. You think Wemby wants to stick around with this shit? Do you think Wemby looks at Chet Holmgren and thinks to himself, I'm going to trust the process? Or does he look at Chet Holmgren and go, why wasn't my team, why wasn't the franchise that I went to smart enough to do what they do? They're the youngest team in the NBA. Do you think Wemby maybe wishes the Houston Rockets had gotten the number 1 overall pick? What would he be doing in Houston right now? He'd be a playoff team, and they're a 500 team without him. You put Wemby on that team, you put Wemby on Oklahoma City Thunder, they're a winning team. If we don't do something fast, Wemby's going to be gone. And I don't give 2 flying Fs if it's like, oh, well, only the Spurs can offer the Supermax. The dude makes money. He's going to want to win. Louis Vuitton, Nike. Who wanted to leave the Spurs after 3 seasons? Give me that name.
Nephew?
Tim Duncan wanted to lose.
I'm saying the nephew walked too.
Well, yeah, he walked too for a reason. Maybe, just maybe, the problem is Pop.
Well, here's the thing that I think about too. Even if you get a new coach, right? They move away from Pop. They get a new coach. And this is just theoretical. The plethora of talent that's here right now, this just ain't it, man. This team, again, going back to 2020, even 2021, reading the articles, and the problem that the Spurs had back then are the same problems that they have now. They just can't shoot the ball. They still have an issue defending the 3, trying to knock down 3s. And what do you have to do in today's league? You got to be able to knock down 3-pointers. And unfortunately for the Spurs, they got nobody that can shoot the 3. And you can see that the disparity between them and the other teams that are good,
huge.
It's big. And even with OKC is arguably going to contend maybe, for an NBA championship. They're going to be one of the top teams in the West. They've had a problem getting to the big dance, but the Mavs don't look all that like, world beaters. Maybe their path to the finals last year was easy.
Joe, what happens if the Spurs didn't get better this year?
I don't know, man. They might have to blow it up. Something's going to have to change.
hurted my feelings up there saying that that Chet Holmgren's going to have a Tim Duncan-like career while Wemby might have a Kevin Garnett career. That's hurting my feelings a little bit. People are already jumping all over Wemby, calling him soft. They do say that he's sick right now, and that I've had people who've had firsthand accounts in the locker room tell me that he's really, really sick right now. So we'll give him that pass for a couple of days. But you're not going to win games, Joe, in the year 2024 with Jeremy Sohan shooting the ball 19 times and 16 times. You're just not. You're not. You're not going to – because his 2-point attempts are not as valuable as someone else's 3-point attempts. You need to have 3-point shooters. It has to be beyond the Bryn Forbeses of the world. You need to have 3-point shooters who know how to play defense. The Spurs really need to blow this team up. You keep Wemby. You keep Sohan. You keep Castle. And you really flush the rest of the team down the drain.
Yeah, and
there's one player, Joe, that you may want to keep that I never thought I'd say.
Who's that?
If I had to ask you this question, Joe,
Keldon,
who's the most effective shooter on the Spurs team this year? Who would you say it is?
Harrison Barnes.
He's number 2. It's a little bit of a surprise, Joe, because we all thought this guy might not make the team. We thought that the Spurs would get rid of him at the end of the season. The most effective shooter on the Spurs roster right now
CP3.
is Malachi Branham.
Oh, okay.
Malachi Branham, in 14 minutes per game this year, is doing very well. He's averaging 11 points per game. Joe, think about that. 11 points per game in just 14 minutes of play. His effective field goal shooting percentage for a guard, Joe, if you're north of 56%, you are very, very good. He's at 70.7%, Joe.
Jeez.
He is shooting 58% from three, 58% from the field. So get that, 58% from three, 58% from two. He's making buckets. Malachi Branham is the best efficient shooter on the Spurs team. Harrison Barnes is too. And who is number three, Joe? Someone that I've been telling you has been bringing it this year, and you don't like to hear it.
Zach Collins.
Booty Crumbs is number three with a 61% effective field goal shooting.
I'll tell you what, he's going to digress. He's never consistent, man.
I that may be the case, Joe, but what we've seen from him in the 14 minutes per game that he's playing with some fire. Usually what happens is, like, Sohan's in a contract year.
Yeah.
You ball out your contract year so that you can get the bigger contract.
Well, they
right?
did extend him one other year,
But that's a contract year, though.
Yeah.
It's a team option, right? So he wants to get the bag, right? Like Keldon Johnson balled out the year before he got his bag, right? I thought Zach Collins would get his 2-year, $31 million contract, $30 million contract, and just like fade into the sunset, just suck ass. I know he's only playing 14 minutes per game, but the intensity by which he is playing these 4 games is more intense than I've ever seen him play in a Spurs uniform.
He's playing with some ganas.
He is. He's a little ballsy out there. He's chippy. He's what we've wanted all along. So as of now, I don't know if I call it enforcer, but as of now, he's playing with some fire, man. I like it. The lowest shooting Spurs right now is Stefan Castle, 28%. Keldon Johnson at 39%. This is as an effective field goal shooting percentage. And then Wemby is right there at 44%. Are we going to look one day and think to ourselves that Wemby might not be a three-point shooter? Because right now, 19% from three. We live in a world, Joe, where Jeremy Sohan at 20% from three is shooting better than Wemby from three, because Wemby's at 19%. Maybe these two MFers should not shoot the ball from beyond the arc. At least we're seeing Sohan stop. Sohan averaged around 4 3-point attempts last year. There were some games where he shot 6 or 7. He's averaging just 1 3-point attempt a year per game right now, 1.3. I'm fine with that.
One of the things, too, that OKC does is they play very good defense. And they're probably the top 10 in the NBA when it comes to defense.
Yeah.
And they just played the Spurs tough yesterday. They really went ahead and got after them. They made them really work for what they were able to get. And the Spurs try to make little runs here and there, but it wasn't enough to keep up with the talent, the disparity of talent between the Spurs and what OKC has. And Wemby still doesn't understand that his presence is going to be better felt inside the paint. He's still wanting to skirt around, top of the key. He doesn't get into the paint at all, doesn't really do much there. And you can see that other teams, it's easy, man. When you saw OKC yesterday, they had their players inside the paint. They're taking the paint away.
Yeah.
And nobody's going in there trying to jockey for position or anything. The Spurs just have horrible spacing because they're all camped out around the 3-point line, and you can't shoot threes.
Why camp out at the 3-point line?
Exactly. If you can't shoot a three, why are you just standing around? Have some motion to the offense. Do something.
Chet Holmgren looks so good, man.
I'm just like, man.
Chet Holmgren looks like he's taken it up 2 or 3 levels. Tony O'Neill is saying Branham has a high shooting percentage because he doesn't get enough playing time. Well, Branham yesterday played 20 minutes. As I mentioned, he's averaging 14 minutes per game. Yesterday he had 20, getting more playing time. 15 points, 3 of 4 from 3, 6 of 11 shooting. Joe, if you are getting 15 points in 20 minutes and you made 3 out of 4 3-point attempts, maybe you should be in the lineup. Maybe Malachi Branham should be in the lineup. Now, the Spurs are going to be getting Devin Vassell back at some point. But is Devin Vassell going to really improve this team to the point where it's like, let's just wait for Devin to come back? Because right now, the people that are on the USS, the sinking USS, Gregg Popovich, are like, but wait for Vassell to come back. And meanwhile, Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" is playing in the background.
Look at what Hyman says right now, watching us on YouTube. He says Castle had his worst game as an NBA rookie yesterday, but still showing some positives. OKC is a top Western Conference team. And there's no lie there. OKC is one of the top teams in the West.
Castle was scoreless in 20 minutes, man. I'm not going to jump off the Castle train just yet because, again, he's 4 games into his career. Wemby is a full year into his career, and he had 6 points yesterday. Again, the story is that Wemby is sick, that he could barely breathe out of his nose, that he is mucoso, that somebody, you know what? Did the training staff not give him Vicks? Did they not put Vicks on his feet, cover his big-ass feet with socks, and tell him to go get some rest? So, okay, he was sick. I'll buy it, right? What happened to Julian Champagny? Remember I told you about this, Joe?
Yeah.
What did I tell you, Joe? Ball's out in preseason. We all get excited. Jimenez apologized to Julian Champagny. Quit calling him cardio. Well, he did 20 minutes yesterday, scored 3 points.
Yeah, one bad game, though.
Is it really one bad game?
I mean, come on.
Is it really one bad game?
Yeah, but the thing with the Spurs, and as bad as they're playing right now, early on in the season, the one thing that I'm reminded of, and they can get better and they can play more consistent as the season unrolls here, is that there's levels to this game. You know, and you're seeing right now the Spurs are in their infancy when it comes to that. You're seeing the other teams that are stacked up in the West that are the upper echelon teams, and there's a big gap there. The Spurs have to level up. They have to play more consistent. I know after the game, Coach Pop says the same thing. They got to play more consistent. They can't be turning the ball over. This team keeps making the same mistakes over and over, over and over, over and over. And at some point, they're going to have to go ahead and just look at themselves and say, look, either we're going to get better or the teammates that you're looking at, they ain't going to be around here anymore. Because there's going to be a time where Brian Wright and Pop in the front office are going to have to make that call. And it might happen this season where they're going to be looking at each other and going to be like, you know what, man? This team ain't it.
Remember they called it the young core for so many years?
It's not young anymore, dude.
It's not young anymore, and it's not any good. Champagny had 18 points in his first game of the season against the Mavericks, and everyone was telling me to apologize to him, right? And then he had 12 points. And the first 2 games, he shot 6 of 12 from 3. And I was like, hey, he's lighting it up. Last 2 games, Rockets, 5 points.
Yeah.
Thunder, 3 points. He's going back to being Mr. Cardio. Spurs back in action tonight, taking on the Utah Jazz. It's a winnable game. If the Spurs get blown out by Utah, I don't want to hear, well, it's the second game of a back-to-back because Utah sucks.
Yeah.
Utah is winless. 0-4, 0-3 at home.
And they're favored to win by 2.
Utah favored by 2.
How is that possible? Oh, we
have a super chat coming in.
Yeah, it looks like there's something going on between him and Matt Lerma. It says, Matt, I'm sorry you have a problem with me super chatting this show. I didn't know you never met you, but respect your rights. This grudge is weird.
So apparently they have a weird grudge going on. So it's kind of funny is that like you and I are doing a show together, but we're seeing some arguing in the chat. This is where we're at, baby. We went from Team Tank against Team Play-In. We now have team in Pop We Trust versus a team. Let's just move on. Move on.
The Spurs, they need to get better at playing the game more consistently for the full 48 minutes. What we're seeing right now out of this team is we knew they were going to have some growing pains coming right into the season, and we're seeing that right now. And I said as much, before the season even started, and I said, you really want to see what this team is going to be capable of, kind of seeing a little inkling of what is going to be, unfolding here for the rest of the season. Let's see how they look at the end of December.
Joe, you can show my screen real fast.
Sure.
If the season ended right now, the Spurs would have all 4 first-round draft picks. Joe, this is where we're going right now, Joe. We're now Team Tank in some of this, right? Remember Atlanta started the year 2-0? They've lost 3 in a row, Joe. They're 2-3. Right now, Atlanta has the 8th worst record in the NBA. So the Spurs would have their own pick. And right now, I know there's a lottery and whatnot, but if things held to form, Spurs would be picking number 5. They'd have Atlanta's pick at number 8.
Yeah.
That Charlotte pick is top 14 protected. Right now it's at 17 because Charlotte somehow or another, LaMelo Ball balling out. 2-2. And then Chicago's is top 10 protected. Currently, Chicago's 3-2, so the Spurs would get their pick at number 23. We'll be monitoring this every week and every month as time goes on because, the Spurs got to do something, right? Are the Spurs going to have 3 first-round draft picks like they did a few years ago when they got Branham, Wesley, and Sohan? We shall see. Again, going back to Sohan, Sohan brings fire to the team. And I think that he's growing on me a bit, Joe. He's growing on me. He's growing on me because he's the only player on the team, along with Branham, along with Zach Collins, that's showing any balls this year.
Yeah. Hyman brings up a good point. He says it's going to be more experimenting basketball once Vassell comes back. Yeah, it is. I mean, unfortunately, the chemistry between the team and Vassell isn't there yet because he hasn't been on the floor with the team in the context of a real NBA game.
He has been practicing, so it's not like he's been on the sidelines.
Yeah, he hasn't been in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I get you. By the way, tonight's game is going to be at 8 p.m., so just leave a bucket of candy outside. I think I'm going to be out in the sports bar watching this.
Yeah. Oh, the World Series ended, so we'll talk about that later on in the show here. We got another $5 super chat incoming here from Tavarius. He says, Sohan and Wemby are not a good pairing. Wemby needs to be in the paint where Sohan camps out at.
It's a very good point. Dude, Wemby's handles are not as good as they were last year. There's something wrong. I think you mentioned, Joe, that he uses his right hip a lot.
He does. Every time he's going to motion, he makes a motion to go to the basket. He brings the ball up at his right hip. He always puts his left foot forward first. He brings his right foot back. And at that point, it leaves him exposed, and they just swipe the ball.
Yeah.
Boom, and it's going the other way. And you've seen this. They've done this, I don't know how many times
this
season.
There's tape on all these guys.
Yeah. Scouting,
now Sohan is doing a lot of the things that I've always wanted him to do. So it's kind of hard for me to bitch at Sohan because I wanted him to camp out and do layups and stuff like that. I don't want him shooting 3-pointers, and he's doing what I've wanted him to do. The problem that I have with Sohan,
dirty work, yeah.
And it's not a Sohan problem. People are thinking that I was bagging on Sohan. He should not be shooting the ball 19 times, even if it's within 5 feet.
But you know what's weird about that? 19 times that he shot the ball. There was times yesterday in OKC's Spurs versus OKC game where they gave Wemby the ball, and he's in the paint area, and instead of trying to motion or make a move, do something, shoot the ball, he defers it and he gives it to Sohan. You know who was actually inside the paint, making a living inside the paint in yesterday's game?
Yeah.
Sohan.
Yeah.
They give him the ball to Sohan, and they're just like, do something.
He's doing things by instinct.
Yeah.
Sohan doesn't have game. He has instinct, right? He has the best instinct of any player on this team. I wish the talent matched it, but it's like his aggressiveness, his instincts, and his desire makes his talent a little bit better than advertised. Okay, but we live in a world, Joe, where Jeremy Sohan is averaging more field goal attempts this season than Victor Wembanyama. And we live in a world where, Joe, the highest scoring Spur right now at 18.5 points per game is not Victor Wembanyama. It's Jeremy Sohan.
Yeah, another $5 super chat incoming from the Drew Show, and he's saying, I'd like to point out that in addition to being the worst perimeter player on the team, KJ is also carrying a true shooting percentage in the 30s.
Yeah, Keldon Johnson has had 2 really bad games. His effective field goal shooting percentage is 39.3, which is not just trash. It is like horse crap.
And I approve this message that Mario Cavazos is saying. Matt Lerma is good people. I know Matt, and we've sat down together. He's cool people, man.
Just because we call him an apologist doesn't make him a bad person.
I have nothing against Matt. In fact, we're the ones sponsoring the Spurs Spaces that Matt is hosting. And I'm going to try to get in there as often as I can. Usually I'm working till like 9 at night. So it's hard for me sometimes to get on the spaces because my calls at work will go long. So my clock out time is 9, but sometimes I get out closer to 10. You know, if I'm getting some last minute calls or I got to do something for work last minute. Beyond that, I mean, sometimes it's not 10:30 that I get out.
Joe, the Spurs just need new everything, man. And we have to understand that in Brian Wright we trust and Pop we trust. Pop is not the future of this team. You can't have a future of a team when your head coach is 76 years old. He's not the future of this team. He should have retired 10 years ago. Brian Wright has collected a lot of picks. You got to do something with him. Yeah. And I'm looking at this Spurs team and I see the parallels with the Dallas Cowboys. I see the parallels. Jerry Jones and Gregg Popovich are both narcissists. they're both holding on way too tightly to power that they should have let go of a long time ago. We're seeing when it comes to Stephen Jones being very much like Brian Wright in the sense that they're not bringing in any talent. They're not doing any trades. They're not picking the right players. The parallels between the Dallas Cowboys and Spurs is just brutal.
Yeah.
Just brutal.
Look at this. We got $5 coming in from Sam Salinas as far as a super chat. And he says, so sick of Sohan Love. He sucks. He's going to break your heart. He is not it. And we go nowhere with him. He goes, F Sohan.
Dude, I like Sohan's talent level is so low. But again, he makes up for it with energy and the putbacks. You don't need to have a lot of talent to put back the shot. You got to have the talent to be in the position to get that board to do it. So Sohan is an enigma. He's an anomaly when it comes to things because, like, on one end, I do realize he's completely deficient as an offensive player shooting wise, but he hustles so much, and he has a spirit and a fire that no one else on this team has. So you kind of want him on that team. I just don't want him shooting the ball 16 to 19 times per game. Why is he shooting the ball that often? I don't get it.
Yeah. It's the Spurs need to change their scheme, man.
And who's in charge of that scheme?
Again, you know who is.
It's
the coach, Coach Pop, and the coaching staff. They're the ones that are scheming out there, and telling these players what to do out in the court. But, at the same time, too, these players don't always listen, as we've seen with CP3. You can design a play or tell them to run this play, but at the end of the day, sometimes they're like, F that.
Oh, yeah. So we saw that in the Rockets game. I was at the game, and I saw Popovich yelling at Chris Paul to pick up the ball and start the play and pick it up, go, now. And CP3 just ignored
He's
Pop.
like, nah, I'm good.
But it's okay, Joe. We got a 39-year-old point guard who can't guard anybody.
You know what's funny, though? And I've seen some of the stats on this. When Chris Paul is out there on the court and he does shoot the ball, he makes the team better. That's ironic. It just goes to show you the disparity right now with this Spurs team. Even though Chris Paul is an older point guard, he can still shoot the ball effectively, and he does make the team better when he's out there on the court. Right now we don't have Trey Jones, and I'm not saying Trey Jones is going to be like a world beater, but he just brings a little bit of balance to that second unit, because they do need an experienced point guard when CP3 and some of the other starters are going off the court and getting some rest. It's just what it is that it is what it is right now as far as the talent that the team is trying to work through. And look, we got his $2 incoming super chat from Matt Lerma. Thank you, Matt Lerma. We appreciate that, man. He says, Pop, Sohan, and Wemby haters need to grow up.
There are no Wemby haters. Who are the Wemby haters? Explain who the Wemby haters are. Now, Sohan, you can have an argument with Sohan and say, hey, he does, like, that's why I'm conflicted about Sohan. I'm conflicted about Sohan. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I'm conflicted about Sohan because, like, you can't look at him and think that he's talented. He's not. He's very, 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 he's very, very, very athletic. And you have to understand that athleticism only works within 5 to 7 feet of the basket. You get him outside of 5 feet, he shoots like a middle schooler. I mean, I refereed high school basketball yesterday. I trust them with a shot from 18 feet than I do him. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the Spurs record right now because he's saying Pop haters. The Spurs, since the last time they made the playoffs, are 105 games under 500. We've lost 105 games more than we've won. 144 and 249.
It's a lot, man.
That is tragic for a team that had 20 years in a row of making the playoffs.
Yeah. Look at Tavares. He says, Joe, Trey ain't saving this team. He can't shoot, man. I didn't say he's going to save the team. All I said is him coming back gives you some balance on the second unit because you have somebody who can help run the offense. Not that you're going to be having him out there for his scoring prowess. He's going to help, run the offense and give some of the other players on that second unit time to be able to play their natural positions.
Now, I do have a question for the super chat here, and this is actually specifically to Matt Lerma. If he wants to call in, more than happy to have him on.
Yeah.
My question is, and the answer cannot be whenever he wants to leave. My question is, at what point should the Spurs get rid of Gregg Popovich? And I don't want to hear an answer of, well, he can leave whenever he wants to leave, because if this MFer wants to stay for 10 years, I'm not going to hang out for that. Okay? At what point do you make the decision as the Spurs front office of, you know what, dude? Maybe we're not going to fire you, but we're going to say that we'll give you the opportunity to exit gracefully. When's that conversation going to be had, Matt? Because, it's one of those things where I look at it and I think to myself, the question of, well, he won 5 chips. Yeah. He can stay as long as he wants. No, that's not that doesn't work in any job in society. That doesn't work. At some point, if you're not doing your job, guess what, Joe? You get shown the door. And not only is he not doing his job, Joe, he's the highest paid coach in the NBA. He is stealing money from the Spurs organization at this point.
Yeah.
Spurs back in action tonight against the Jazz. Rockets take on the Mavericks tonight. Bucks and Grizzlies. Suns and Clippers. Those are your Halloween games. I'm looking at the Spurs record, Joe. Remember, the Spurs started the season 3-2 last year, then lost 18 in a row. Spurs right now, here's who the Spurs have on tap the rest of the next couple of weeks or so. We got the Jazz tonight. Then we've got a home game against the Timberwolves, on the road against the Clippers, on the road against the Rockets, and then we're home against the Jazz and Trailblazers. And guess what, Joe? We're going to beat the Trailblazers and the Jazz. Spurs are going to have back-to-back wins, and we're going to be like, you see, they're getting it back together. They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's because they beat the bottom dwellers. We already know how this script's going to work.
This comment coming in from Sith Lord Elias. He says, Mike wants Pop whacked like in Goodfellas.
Yeah. Okay. I'll vouch for that.
The thing with this Spurs team, though, it's like I said, it's
somebody's put down. It says a Big Sean says if Wemby walks, the idea is not to replace Pop before Wemby walks. The idea is to make Wemby happy, right? That's the whole thing. We all think that Pop, that we should all bow to the god that Pop is, right? F that. Wemby's the future of this franchise. It's about him and only him. Pop's feelings have nothing to do with anything. It should all be about what makes Wemby better.
Yeah.
Surround him with players that fit him, that the shooters that he needs. Pop's feelings don't mean a damn thing. Yeah, he won 5 titles, but that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, look at this from the Drew Show. He says, Coach Bud got fired from Milwaukee for getting them to the championship and then failing in the Eastern Conference Finals. Look where Coach
Bud is now,
and
what he's doing, Pop and 6 losing seasons. So basically, Coach Bud, that's a very good point. Coach Bud unceremoniously got released. And they think that doing was because of Giannis, by the way.
Yeah.
But, Budenholzer has done a better job of getting back on his feet. Now with the Phoenix Suns, they're doing pretty well. I'm just looking at it, man. It's time, dude. Pull the plug. R.C. Buford, Brian Wright, pull the plug. Do a mercy killing on the guy. Do something. We're all tired of him anyway. You can respect Popovich and thank him for 5 rings and still think, you know what, it's time to go. Just do something. This team isn't getting better with him. Antonio Nallas on our thread was saying, well, get him better players and we'll see that we'll see. No. He had LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. He had Derek White. He had DeJounte Murray. He had all-stars. Didn't do dick with them.
Yeah. But the funny thing to me, though, is everybody likes to blame the coaching staff or Coach Pop, point the finger. It's his fault. It's his fault. The problem is, okay, let's say the team moves on from him and they're even worse than they were with him. Then whose fault is that?
Right. He didn't get the most out of Derek White. He didn't get the most out of a lot of players. DeMar DeRozan seems to be balling out better without us. And I know they say nice things. I know that they say things about Pop, about him as a person, but that doesn't make him the right coach for right now. You can be an excellent coach, but it doesn't mean that you're an excellent coach anymore. You're more of a mentor than you are a head coach. Look at Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a Hall of Famer. Right? He'll be a future Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer without a doubt. Do you really want Chris Paul as point guard of this team? No. Why? Because he's too old. At some point, the game passes you by. And that's the thing with Popovich, is that the game passed him by. And right now, people are finally siding with me. If I had done that in Pop We Trust poll like I did 2 weeks ago, done now, people would be more on my side than they were before. It's because we're now noticing this. And it happened because of last night's game against Oklahoma City Thunder. You saw that team, and you're like, oh, my God, that team is so good. And, oh, my God, they have their own Wemby and Chet Holmgren. Oh, my God, they have a stud point guard. Oh, my God, they have a young head coach. Oh, my God, they have all those picks. Oh, my God, they did well in getting Jalen Williams. You look at Oklahoma City Thunder, do you think to yourselves, wow, we are so far away from the promised land. We have never been this far away from getting into a finals. Have we even bottomed out, Joe?
I think that the Spurs probably had bottomed out, but right now you're just seeing that the team as a collective whole, this is what they're going to be capable of. I mean, they're a little. The thing is that if you would have seen this team,
they punted
last season.
They punted.
Well, they're getting better. They are getting better
They're
because
not.
they are. If you go
Ooh.
back to last season, and they would have had the same game against OKC, they would have lost this game by 30 points. But on paper,
Why
when
do you
you're
keep
looking
saying
at that,
Joe? The Spurs never lost games by 30 points last
they
year.
would have lost. They would have gotten blown out of the water
They
by
did
even
get
more.
blown out.
By what? How many? What was the final score?
It was a 12-point game.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't
that close.
20. I mean, it wasn't like they're
At
getting
some
blown
point
out by
it was-
25.
At some point, it
you
was
know?
18. Joe,
I'm just telling
Joe,
you, they're playing better. I can see that. But the thing
They're
is, it's not
not
going to
playing-
translate to wins, though.
they're not playing
They
better.
are playing better.
They're not.
They are. I'm just telling you.
Dude, if Wemby's getting 6 points, they're not playing better.
Well, that's individual player, but the team as a whole is playing better, is what I'm telling you.
Joe.
It's just not translating to wins.
Joe, I'm going to say something, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
The complete opposite. They're playing worse than last year.
No, I don't see that, man.
Dude, the Spurs are playing worse than last year. That team right there, we talked about 35, 40 wins. That's us being, remember about a week ago?
Yep.
Spurs season started on the 24th. We're like, hope springs eternal was the phrase that I used, right? That old saying.
Yeah.
You want to have confidence that maybe things will turn around. We're 4 games into the season, Joe, and I don't see this team being better at all.
They play better as far as how they're running the game. It looks more consistent, but the problem is that they're just not knocking down those points. They're not knocking down threes. They're not defending the three. And those are the same problems, like I said, going back to
Joe, the
2020.
Spurs weren't losing
that
games
they've had.
last year by 20 or 30 points. It just felt like that.
No, they were getting
Spurs-
blown out
the
in a lot of
Spurs- the
games.
Spurs
Some
were
of them were close.
The Spurs were losing by 10 or 12 or 14.
Some games were close. They
towards
were
the end of the season.
They were like 1 point, 2 points, and they would lose them in crunch time. I'm just saying, I'm looking at this team, and to me, the team is playing better, but it's still not the team that you're expecting. It's only 4 games into the season, and they still even haven't found their identity. You know who said as much too? Harrison Barnes after the game. He said this team still has to find their identity. They still have to figure out who they are. How are they going to play together? They're still trying to figure out how to gel together. 4 games into the season, I mean, like I said,
Then
I
whose
want to see what
fault
they
is
look
it
like.
that there's no identity.
I want to
Because
see what they look like at the end of December, not what they look like in 5 games, 6 games in the
Wemby's been with
season.
this team for 2 seasons, second
Yeah.
season. You've had Keldon Johnson here for 6? You've had Sohan here for year 3.
Yeah.
You have Branham here for year 3. You have Wesley here for year 3. You've had Vassell here for 5 years. You've had Zach Collins here for a few years. What do you mean they don't have an identity? They should already have. All they did was add 2 players.
That's what Harrison Barnes said after yesterday's
Joe.
game. That wasn't me. I'm just the messenger.
Joe, we added 2 players and a draft pick.
Yeah. I'm just
Everybody
telling you,
else is
that's what
back.
Harrison Barnes said. Don't look at me for that.
The Spurs are the Cowboys, dude. And the apathy is going to stick in. If we think that Spurs fans are just going to sit there and take it and buy tickets to these games, there's probably a reason why I was able to get to the 17th row for $12 the other day. Brutal, dude. Absolutely brutal. But again, the Spurs back in action tonight against the Utah Jazz. Joe, do we have a caller?
We do have a caller here. I got Matt Lerma on the line. Matt, welcome to the show.
What's going on with Matt? How you been? Thanks for the super chat earlier.
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
Well,
Doing good.
blood pressure's coming down a little bit. It's kind of like the 5 stages of grief. I've come to the acceptance part of the season. What's going on, Matt?
Not much, man. I don't know. I just think it's interesting how I don't know when the Spurs beat the Rockets, I didn't hear any of the hate, and then like when we lose to like a championship contending team, it's like fire everybody. Like it doesn't make sense to me. But
Fire Pop. Mike wants to fire Pop.
But I will say this, like to answer your question, I think that Pop will be gone soon. Like maybe if not this season, next season would be his last season. The Spurs are building something. Regardless of who they bring in, like they're gonna keep playing the same way that Pop is playing the players. Like they 100% believe that they need to play positionless European style basketball. Kind of like if you're not someone who watches European basketball, just watch what UConn did last season, and we'll probably do this season. That's what the Spurs want to build here in San Antonio. So like they're going to do that. They have a good chance to get some good draft picks, maybe even 2 in the top 10 this season. So I think that they're going to keep playing the same way. They're going to add players that either are European or understand European style basketball, kind of like how UConn is playing. And, they're going to have to move on from Pop eventually. And I honestly think that if not this season, next season will be his last season.
Yeah, we got a $2 incoming super chat from Tavares, and he's saying Wemby needs a co-star. He goes, no, Vassell ain't that guy.
Vassell's an ideal number 3. He's an ideal number 3, and Sohan's an ideal number 4.
And look, Ren G brings up a good comment here, Matt. He says the overreactions on a season that's been a week old is crazy. It's barely a week into the season. And again, I mean, there's 82 games into the season, Matt. Do you think that Spurs fans are kind of overreacting?
100%.
They're acting like they've played 30 games already,
Yeah, like the way Mike was talking earlier was like the season just ended and the Spurs, ended the season on like a 20-point loss or something. I mean, like I don't understand where all the vitriol comes from. Like I know that you said that Pop like was mean to you one time at a press conference, but I mean like that's crazy, man. Like
I don't hold a 20-year-old, 25-year-old grudge. I'm not upset at Pop because of that. I'm upset at Pop because I'm a Spurs fan, and this team has had 5 losing seasons in a row, and I don't see them getting any better. I think that Pop right now is washed. He's washed, and the idea of who are you going to get to coach after Pop is meaningless because Joe Mazzulla has had no experience. Popovich himself had no head coaching experience. That is not an argument. The Spurs need to have new blood on there. It's like an oil change in a car. You got to change the oil every once in a while. You're hired to be fired, and Pop has hung around way too long. He's 75 years old, about to be 76. You can't build a team around a 76-year-old head coach, no matter how experienced he is. Even if he had been winning, you don't do that. It's malpractice at this point, and it is narcissistic for him to be doing what he's doing. He should have hung him up a long time ago. And the idea that Pop is like, well, you know what? Only I can do this. Only I can do this. Only I got to set this team up. Set this team up. No. You've had 5 losing seasons in a row. This is going to be number 6. And I know it's only 4 games in, but the inflection point there, Matt, is that we look at this Thunder team and we see how far away we are. We're not just 12 points away from them because they were toying with us. They could have annihilated the Spurs team, but they didn't. They have the Spurs are not playing Wemby effectively. The Spurs aren't playing the 3-point line effectively. The defense sucks. The shooting sucks. Sohan going out there, who I love the motor that he has. He's growing on me, Matt. He's growing on me, especially when he's not shooting around 5 3-point attempts per game. He's growing on me, okay? So I'm becoming a Sohan fan.
We got the apology form, Matt. Remember, we still got that apology form.
No, it's not an apology form. You know why? The apology form is Popovich.
You signed an apology form, though. How is it not an apology form?
Okay, well, first of all, I signed the apology form because he got into a fight in Houston, and I happened to be on the 5th row.
He blew a kiss.
He blew a kiss, and I got super excited. But it's that fire and drive that I do like, and I like the fact that he's out there shooting the ball from within 5 feet. His shot is shit. He has no shot. That'll never. You can give him 10 years in the NBA. He ain't gonna fix that shot. That shot doesn't exist. It's an ugly ass hitch to it. It ain't ever gonna be fixed. Shooters know how to shoot. He doesn't know how to shoot, right? So if you have a guy who doesn't know how to shoot, shooting 19 and 16 attempts per game, there's something wrong with that. That's not winning basketball. The pieces around Wemby don't fit, and it's evident. And then you have a point guard who's 39 years old. I like Barnes, though. I'd rather keep Barnes around.
So what do you have to tell?
Do you just start hating people after 35 because Barnes is still 32? But
yeah, and what you'll see in the next 2 or 3 years is that Barnes will fall off, no different than Duncan fell off, no different than Manu fell off, and no different than Tony Parker fell off. It happens. And you know what?
Yeah.
Do you know when coaches fall off? Do you know when coaches fall off? Around 65, 67.
Oh, Lord.
How old was Pop when he last won a title? Around that age. That's when they fall off.
Go ahead, man.
Just to answer your question, though, this whole anyone but Pop thing I think it's kind of ridiculous. You're not gonna get a better team just because the coach is under 50.
How do you know? How do you know?
Well, because
Joe
it's
Mazzulla,
a stupid assumption. It's a dumb assumption.
Joe Mazzulla's
It's a dumb assumption.
Eric Spoelstra was winning in his 30s. It happens. You don't have to be a grizzled like Joe the Cowboys. Okay, you're a Cowboy.
Are you gonna let me answer or what?
Let him answer.
I want to ask Joe a question first. I'll go back to you, Matt. I promise.
Okay.
Joe, you're a Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
You know Mike McCarthy is not going to be the head coach of this team at the end of this year.
Maybe not. That's on Jerry, though.
They're not going to renew him. They're not.
That's on Jerry. You need to be surprised. Jerry might keep him around.
But let's suppose that they don't. Okay, let's give that let's suppose that the Cowboys move on from Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Mike McCarthy doesn't want to sign. Fine. He wants to go someplace else, right? Would you rather the Cowboys go after a grizzled vet like Mike McCarthy was, because Mike McCarthy had a championship under his belt, who's 55, 60, 65 years old, maybe a Bill Belichick?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather have the Cowboys go out there and get the hot offensive coordinator who happens to be 35, 42 years old?
I get where you're going with this. I understand. You've made that comparison before. Is it going to get a younger coach? Younger doesn't always translate into better, though. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
And grizzled old doesn't mean that it translates.
I'm
to
just
better
saying that the facts can support that. Younger doesn't also include better, because you've had the Boston Celtics who had a younger coach, and he coached the team, but they moved on from him and got another coach, and now the former coach is still in part of the front office. And I'm saying that's the same thing that can happen with Pop. He could be part of the front office
over the last 20 years, because you've had.
I understand.
You had Steve Kerr as a young coach winning rings.
Yeah.
You had Malone. You had a Budenholzer.
Yeah.
You've had these coaches, Mazzulla.
I get that.
Some that have gone to the finals, even Udokas of the world, who've gone out there. Ty Lue's.
Yeah.
These are all young coaches that are going out there. These aren't guys that are like 25-year NBA vets. Back in the day where you get Bernie Bickerstaff, or you'd get Hubie Brown, or you'd get those guys, George Karl. Those guys don't get it to the top anymore. So I'm sorry, Joe. Matt.
Let's get back to Matt.
Get back to Matt. I apologize.
Matt, you have the floor now. Matt, give your rebuttal.
Yeah, so the whole younger equals better thing is not necessarily true. Like, if you want to say Joe Mazzulla, but he bought into a system, right? So that's why he's there, because they had a system in place, they had everything, and he just kind of took over. And by the way, it's Coach Popovich's coaching style, what the Boston Celtics are doing. So, they're doing the beautiful game and the motion offense, the same thing that got the Warriors 2 championships. So, back to back. So to say that Coach Pop doesn't have any good ideas or that he's washed, I think is ridiculous.
It's
And
not identical. It's not identical, though. I mean,
it
there's
basically is. I mean,
There's
of course, every
variations.
team's going to play a little bit different, but it's the same philosophy. And what you have to understand is that the Spurs are looking for a new coach, no matter what their age is, that's going to be able to implement their new philosophy of the positionless basketball. Now, getting the players to match has proven to be a struggle. Your least favorite, 12th pick in the draft, Josh Primo, he was the start of it, trying to find these bigger guards and stuff like that. But finding the right pieces to fit around Wemby, it makes sense. Wemby's European. We should put him in the offense he feels the most comfortable in, which is a European style offense. But it's a big puzzle, and whoever replaces Pop is going to have to buy into that system. It doesn't matter what their age is. I think that whoever replaces him, as long as he goes with what the company wants, I think that he'll be just fine.
That Spurs super fan Matt Lerma. Don't forget to check out his Twitter Spaces after Spurs games. Does a fantastic job with that. We don't always agree, but Matt, thanks for being on. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and just for the record, guys, I don't care who super chats the show. I don't know why that was brought up earlier. But
I don't know.
Everyone, please super chat the show.
There you go.
Right.
Thanks, Matt.
So I'm going to disagree with Matt. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with Matt. The Spurs way, the Spurs system. What if the Spurs way, the Spurs system doesn't match Victor Wembanyama? What if that doesn't fit him? Shouldn't the system be what fits Wemby, not what fits Pop?
There's your conundrum, because Wemby's shown what he's more comfortable playing, and then you see him out there now, and he doesn't really still look comfortable playing at that center position.
By the way, I'm looking at the oldest coaches in the NBA this year. Tom Thibodeau is the second oldest coach in the NBA, 10 years younger than Pop. Rick Carlisle is the third oldest coach in the NBA. Man, Rick Carlisle's 11 years. Dude, Rick Carlisle looks old. He's 11 years younger than Pop. And the fourth oldest coach in the NBA is 58. Dude, Joe, there's only 3 coaches that are older than 58.
Who's that?
Or 4 coaches 58 and older. Steve Kerr is 58. The 5th oldest coach is Nick Nurse of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yep.
Nick Nurse is 56. So think about that. Popovich is 76 years old in a couple of months. Only 5 coaches. He's so old as an NBA head coach that only 4 other coaches are within 20 years of him. Joe, there's like 30 teams in the NBA, 32 teams in the NBA. Only 4 are within 20 years, 2 decades away from him.
Yeah, you know how old Coach Spoelstra is? He's 53.
He's the best coach in basketball.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of tread on the tire,
All right. Let's give some love to MCS General Contracting. They've been with us from day one.
Okay.
Let's give them some love.
MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business. Honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
That's right. That Diamond Heart Concrete. Give Chris Leha a call. He also, MCS General Contracting, sponsors the Power Chat, the super chat that we have
Power
here.
in the chat.
Power in the chat. There you go. 210-774-9155. Joe, congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers for winning the World Series yesterday. I didn't realize that the Las Palapas of Petrenko was going to be a happening spot for that. Last night, I refereed 2 high school basketball games, a JV and a varsity game. It was a preseason game between O'Connor High School, who was the home team, taking on New Braunfels Canyon. After the game, I was kind of hungry, Joe, so I went to Las Palapas to get myself a Super Bowl, and I couldn't find a seat, dude.
That was that packed.
That place was packed, and there was a bunch of people watching the World Series because the LP in my neighborhood has a very good setup for TVs. You can watch Cowboy games there, and I forgot about
Your
that.
boy loves Las Palapas. You always take him to get enchiladas after he gets his haircut.
That's right. So I sat there by myself. I was going to go to the bar and sit by myself, but I got a table finally, and I'm watching the game. So I've got 2 games going on my phone. I'm watching the Spurs game, and on the big screen, I'm watching the World Series. I got there right around the 5th inning, which is where things unraveled for the Yankees. The Yankees are up 5-0. Aaron Judge just completely missed an easy shot to center field, and the floodgates opened for the Dodgers. The Dodgers scored 5 runs in the 5th inning to tie the game at 5. It was beyond that. It was the bad throw to third base that was an error. It was the fact that the pitcher for the Yankees did not, Garrett Cole, did not cover first base on that ground to first. He just sat there with his thumb up his ass. Sacrifice fly in the 8th inning, won the game for the Dodgers ultimately. Dodgers won. I believe the score was 7-6. They win. And to be honest with you, don't care. This was the second highest paid team in the league, taking on the third highest paid team in the league, which beat the highest paid team in the league. So number 2 and 3 in salaries were in the World Series, and number 3 beat number 1 to get to the World Series. This is a bought game. Baseball is stupid because there's no salary cap.
Yeah,
I can't watch it.
You know what's funny to me is that the Yankees actually showed some life in these last 2 games, right?
Yeah.
And the Yankees, you're like, oh man, look, they might actually do something. You know, are they going to force a possible Game 7, right? Because they were up on the Dodgers early on. They were up 5-0 going into the 4th, inning. And then all of a sudden the wheels started coming off there. Once you get to the 5th inning, Dodgers made a run there, put up 5 runs.
Yeah,
right?
and it was quick, dude.
It was quick, dude. And then you started, oh man, is it gonna go into extra innings? Nope. That was all she wrote. They got that out, and that was it. World Series champions, So good on the Dodgers for being able to, pull out a close win against the Yankees. But Aaron Judge after the game was saying that, he's sorry he didn't show up in the big moment.
Yeah, he didn't. And dude, it was just a routine catch to center field.
Yeah.
He looked away from it. How do you look away? And it was so nonchalant the way that he went up to it, because he's made that catch literally tens of thousands of times in his career. Practice, high school.
You think he was paid
Little
to
League.
throw the game?
He just went and
he might have owed somebody money, man.
Dropped pants. But the floodgates opened. It was another error, and it was a boneheaded play, and it just kind of unraveled. It was exciting to watch, man. It really was. Daylight savings is this weekend, Joe.
Yeah, man.
So for those of you going to be out drinking, I believe Saturday night you get an extra hour of drinking. Bear County Social Apparel saying Mike is going to
hold on.
Need to go back on that
go.
20 pounds
after
to
that
cuteness
LP
bit
bowl.
after the LP. Dude, nothing wrong with LP bowl, dude. LP bowl with chicken fajita, pinto beans, and avocado slices, and a little bit of rice. I'll be all right. Those games yesterday, though, were fun, man. I'll be honest with you. Gave myself a B+ of a score. I think I did excellent calling of the game. My rotations were passable. You have 3 officials running.
Yeah.
There were some spots where a couple of plays where I probably could have been more crisp on the rotation. But my Achilles started to hurt towards the end of the game, man. And it's because I was jogging the other day, and I went a little bit further than I normally do.
Uh-oh.
And I got sore.
You better be careful, man. You don't want to pull up with a lame Achilles, no contact injury.
Yeah, somebody reached out to me on Twitter earlier today and was
careful,
was like, hey, man, I saw you referee yesterday. He goes, you were getting a little slow towards the end. And I said, and I told my girlfriend. My girlfriend didn't believe me because my girlfriend was like, you just got tired. I'm like, no, I didn't get tired. Like I could have done another game. I wasn't tired. I was getting hurt. But my first regular season game is going to be next weekend. I've got 2 varsity basketball games. Both are going to be at McCullum High School.
Yeah.
I've got McCullum taking on McCullum against Laredo United. and then I've got Medina Valley against Lanier. Both of those games at McCollum on Thursday night.
You got a question being asked here in the chat.
I wear these Nike basketball shoes, and there's certain rules about what you wear. They have to be all black shoes. You can't have any color on the shoe. It has to be all black.
It's like the old days of the NBA, right? Either black or white shoes,
right?
no
Yeah,
color.
Before Jordan. So it has to be white. It has to be black, all black. So most people are either doing Nikes or Under Armour.
Yeah. It's all one solid color or the other.
Yeah, because a lot of the other shoes, you can't have a white stripe. You can't have a logo. And if you do, you got to get a Sharpie and paint it in.
They're not sponsoring the league.
Yeah, exactly.
What do they put?
Special shirt.
What do they have them put sometimes? Like that black, if you're wearing black shoes, you just put that black duct tape on it.
Yeah. But have my new jacket and everything. Everything was all organized, good to go. I was confident with my calls yesterday. I really was. But the other official, who's like one of the heads of the association, I was doing the game with him, and he came up to me and he says that I officiate like an a-hole.
Oh my God! Look at Sith. He goes, Mike, does the whistle stay on during nasty time? Oh God, Jason Garcia.
There you go.
Look, Jason Garcia says, and thank you for joining us from Portland, by the way, Jason Garcia. Can we start Pop Must Go movement?
Dude, I've been trying to start that for about 5 years, man. Has any of the players' parents ever step up to you aggressively?
All right, that's a good question, man.
In AAU, that's happened.
Yeah.
But the parent was a coach. It doesn't happen so much on UIL basketball. You would think that it would. But I have so much power on the court as an official. When we walk onto the court, we have to meet with the school administrator. There's a school administrator on site at all times, and they sit diagonal to the court.
Yeah,
and they're like on the front row. So I meet with them. Each site has a police officer there, and all I got to do is say, "Blue shirt, he's gone."
Yeah,
that's all. They don't argue with me. The principal gets up and escorts them out. And I've done that before.
Some of these games get out of hand with the parents, man. It's like, it's really not that serious. You're just supposed to be there to support your kid and have a good time, enjoying that moment, watching them play, and have fun with it. But some of them take it a little too serious, like with Little League and with soccer, with basketball, like they get really upset and they want to fight people, man.
Oh, dude.
Never understood it.
Dude, you know what? There was one time that somebody went across the line. I've been officiating for 14 years, right? This was probably my second year officiating. I did a game on the south side. And there was a player who got involved in a collision with another player underneath the basket. It was like a 3-on-2 fast break. But it wasn't a foul. I mean, it was just two bodies. It was incidental contact. It wasn't enough to call a foul. The player comes down and tweaks his ankle, right? And is on the ground, like motioning that his ankle's hurt, right? At that point, you can stop the play, or you can just let the play unfold and then stop it, right? Because if the other team's going back on a 4-on-3 fast break, you don't want to just stop the game. So I'm there looking at the player, and I'm looking at the player, and I'm like, if he had a broken ankle, I would have stopped the game. But I was going to let another play go so that the other team was not at a disadvantage, right? So let them go. And at the end of the play, I look back and I see that the parent's on the court tending to his child. And there's a trainer on the court tending to the child while the game was still going on. And I went over and I asked the coach, I was like, Coach, is the player okay? Because he seemed to be all right, right? It's just a twisted ankle.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, he's fine. He's got to walk it off. He'll be fine. I said, Coach, a parent's on the court, man. You know that's a technical foul.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be on the court.
You're not supposed to be on the court.
Yeah.
And I'm talking level-headed to the coach. It was like my second or third year officiating. I said, you know the rules. Parents are not allowed on the court. That is a bench technical foul. I'm going to call a technical foul. We're about to go into halftime. What I don't want is any theatrics from you.
Yeah.
You know the rules. I explained it to him beforehand. Go to the scores table. and I say, technical foul on the bench. We're going to shoot 2 free throws. And the coach, who I had said not to throw any theatrics because you know the rules.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
You start going crazy.
Parent reached into his pocket, got out change, like he had like $1.50 in change, and threw it at me.
God.
It's about 15 years ago.
Jeez, bro.
I blew my whistle and I said, game is over. And that team that guy was on, they're from Houston. I said, you all get on I-10 and go now.
Yeah.
Call the police officer over, and I said, they're out of this tournament.
Yeah.
Like, not just this game. But we're supposed to play 3 games. This was the first one. F out. I not only ended the game, I made a unilateral decision to throw them out of the tournament, and I got backed up by the players by the association.
Yeah.
And I said, and this was a UIL game. And I said, get on the road, get on I-10.
Get out. Should have told him to play that song. Was it hey goodbye?
Now that I think about it, it was a high school game, but it wasn't a high school game like varsity.
Man.
It was like a freshman level game.
So what are the things that we've learned about you this week? That you got involved in road rage incident?
No, I didn't get involved. They involved me in it.
Yeah.
So I went to his work to go see to tell him to go tell me to my face what you said on the road.
Man. And then you got somebody fired from the Pizza Hut, and now you get a team thrown out of the tourney. Go home.
You ain't gonna show me up like that. Get the F out. I had a coach from a SAISD school one time threaten me one time. That was like my second year, but I've gotten good at officiating. I've gotten pretty damn good. I would say that if there are 5 tiers of officiating, I'm probably second tier. I'm pretty good. I'm not great. I don't want to do the playoff games. I have done playoff games, but I don't want to do like the 6A playoff games. Give me the 3A, 4A, 5A playoff games. I'll be fine.
Yeah. You know, one person that we got to give love to as well. We got to give love to Jeff Garcia. Locked on Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked on Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on threads at JeffG10s5SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at JeffGSpursZone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow, not only on threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnSpurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked on Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Today on Locked on Spurs, Jeff Garcia has Raul Dominguez on to talk about the Spurs loss to OKC yesterday. They're also going to preview tonight's game between the Spurs and the Jazz. Again, 8 o'clock tip-off from Salt Lake City. Again, you can subscribe on YouTube,
The X,
Spotify, everywhere you go for your podcasting. I do it Spotify and YouTube. He also has other articles out going on talking about how Giannis might be available via free agency or trade. Interesting story about that. And was talking to Jeff earlier today, and I said, hey Jeff, you do realize that Chet Holmgren's going to get more rings than Wemby? And he goes, oh, tweet that. You see, he's trying to bait me into that. Cook. Hey, don't forget to show me some love, man. My cell phone number here is 210-508-0369. 210-508-0369. Not only do I do refereeing, not only do I do this podcast with Joe, but I'm also a financial guy. I do retirement planning, insurance planning. So everything from IRAs to college savings plans to individual stocks, mutual funds, things like that. Life insurance, long-term care, disability. I've been doing this for 19 years. I have a very good practice there, independent practice. I'm a fiduciary. Everything I say and do needs to be in the client's best interest. Again, 210-508-0369. You might have an old 401k, an old IRA. Want to have a new advisor? Give me a call. Might have a pension. Give me a call. Your spouse might have TRS. Give me a call. That's what I do for a living. I've been doing it for 19 years. And what's funny, Joe, they meet with me, especially if they meet me from this podcast, and they go, you're not the same guy on the podcast or the radio. I am the same guy, but when I do math and I'm doing finance, I'm a different dude. different dude. And then when I take my hat off and I'm talking sports again, I turn into dick. Demon Mike does not make an appearance in any of my financial meetings.
Yeah. We also got to go ahead and remind everybody that we are going to have our 1,000 subscriber party at Halftime Pizza this Saturday, November the 2nd. It's at the Tezel location at 7126 Tezel Road. It is a family-friendly event. You can go ahead and bring your kids, the wife, to the event. And we're having it at the Halftime Pizza because Halftime Pizza just recently closed their Bandera location. So we're trying to go ahead and help this small business and hopefully get them back on their feet here. And also there's going to be a Spurs game that's going to be happening that same day. They do have projector screens and a bunch of other screens up there. It's a good venue, family-friendly event. We'll have some prizes, giveaways there. So make sure you can come out. Start 6 p.m.
Scroll at the chat. I saw a name that I did not recognize. Want to say hi?
Sure.
Let's see if we can turn the chat back on for me here. There was a name up there that I did not recognize. So scroll up a little bit. Said I was Wilden. Brett Haynes. Is that a new name, Joe?
Maybe.
Welcome to the Alamo City Sportscast. Everyone give Brett some love. He's a Necio now, baby.
And we also saw some other new faces here, too, that I haven't seen in quite a time, So want to go ahead and call them out and say hi, to everybody who was able to comment, Big Sean here again, returning. Appreciate you, man. And, our usual suspects like Bear County, Matt Lerma, Jesse A., Drew Show,
Sam Salinas,
Ren G, Thank you again for joining us. And Dark Aeons, he joined us, I think, a couple days ago, actually.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining the show. We appreciate everybody who gives some time to comment. Charlie Hernandez, Mario Cavazos, Tex-Mex Frank. We appreciate everybody. Sith, appreciate you too, man. Tex-Mex Frank, he had sent us a $1.99 super chat that I put up there earlier today. He says, who gives out better candy on Halloween, Coach Pop or Mike?
Well, a better question for everybody, though, is what's your favorite candy? Like when you get your kids candy and you start going through them, like my girlfriend bought a crap ton of Halloween candy, right? She's giving it out tonight.
Yeah.
She told me, hey, Michael, for you this weekend, I took out your candies. Okay. Joe, if you're going to steal candy from one of your kids' buckets, or back in the day when you used to do that, what candies were you looking for?
I like the Jolly Rancher lollipops.
Yeah.
Or the Jolly Rancher candies, the little ones. Those are good, man.
Okay.
Oh, I love the Mexican candies, though. The ones that are like mango that have like Lucas.
Oh, wow.
Well, not Lucas. It's like chili powder and stuff all over it. A little bit of like.
I've never seen that in Halloween.
Yeah, man. The neighbors around here give out the Mexican candy. That stuff's good, man.
My favorite candy is Almond Joy. Maybe because I'm a coconut and I like coconut candies. I love Almond Joy. Blow Pops, amazing. And I only eat this during Halloween season, Joe.
Yeah.
Get me the grape nerds.
Grape nerds. That's odd. All of a sudden, grape nerds. Oh, yeah, this is a new name that I hadn't seen here. Wilmo. So, welcome.
Wilmo, what's going on, brother? Hey, I should be old school. Do you ever give like those what are those Brock strawberry candies?
No,
those old people candies. My dad's a big fan of Butterfinger.
Oh yeah,
that's a older generation candy, right?
Yeah,
kind of like Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth, yeah.
But if you ever go to like Walgreens and they have like the display of candy, get a Baby Ruth one day.
Yeah,
get a Butterfinger, and you're gonna realize that shit's good.
It is good, man.
I
like
mean,
the Baby Ruth.
No hate. I mean, I know we all go into Hershey's and we all, get the Crackle and Mr. Goodbar and all that, the dark chocolate. We get all that stuff, right? But the old timey candies, man, dude, don't get me started on whatchamacallit.
I can't do the licorice, man. I've never been a fan of that. That's gross as hell, dude. The black licorice,
the black one's awful.
Oh,
no, I don't mind the
Twizzler, the red one.
The red vines are better.
Yeah,
I mean, Andy Samberg said it best on SNL. Dr. Pepper and red vines are crazy delicious.
Yeah, but not that black licorice, man.
That's gross.
Ooh, bro. That's powerful, gross. Man. That one has a very powerful flavor. When you eat it, you're like, blah.
It's like stinky ass, dude.
Or what
what
is
it's
it? The Werther's Originals, the one that's like what
the
is it?
caramel?
Caramel, or the butterscotch candies.
Yeah.
The ones that are in that little yellow wrapper, the cinnamon ones.
You know what? The butterscotch ones I don't mind. Crackle or Mr. Goodbar. I'll take whichever one you don't want, but Mr. Goodbar, man, that hits the spot.
Oh yeah, look, Gert's in here too. Yes, Gert. Shout out to you too, sir. And Tony Ornelas.
Great show, guys. Mike has me frustrated comparing Cowboys to my Spurs.
Look at Mario Cavazos. So what's being revealed is that you're kind of a jerk. Question mark. Yeah, friendly reminder, boys. Get out to Busted Sandal Helotes one last
brutal.
time. The weekend is their last weekend. There will be no more Busted Sandal after. Yep. Pour some out for them. They already closed one location. So that's the thing. We got to go ahead and start helping some of our businesses. The next one on the docket is going to be Mad Pecker. Mad Pecker is kind of having to change their tune a little bit as far as what their hours of operation and what they're actually going to be serving there now. They're not going to be focused so much more on doing their own brew now. They're kind of changing.
Place.
They're kind of changing over a little bit. So I'm going to speak with the owner, Jason, here, so we can coordinate maybe a watch party of some capacity out there, whether it be WWE or be Spurs related or football related. We got to do something here to help our businesses here that are in our community. Yeah, because we want to still see them around.
Tonight, not only the Spurs in action, but the NFL week gets going today. The Houston Texans at 6-2 taking on the New York Jets, a 7:15 kickoff on Prime Video. Texans have a lot of injuries, but for some reason, the Jets suck ass, but the Jets are 2-point favorites in according to Vegas right now over the Texans. Texans trying to go to 7-2. Basically, Texans get this win, they're playoff bound. I mean, you have to really, really suck down the stretch to not make it at that point.
I think one thing that we're going to have to talk about too next week, Mike, is we're going to have to talk about the comments of Shaq kind of being kind of a necio uncle there, creepy uncle to Angel Reese, man. That was an uncomfortable conversation. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, what did he do?
I have to show it to you, man. It came out on social media.
Was he being necio?
He's kind of being a little necio. It was a little creepy, man. Not gonna lie.
He does that a lot to reporters sometimes, but the reporters are typically his age. You don't do that to a 20-year-old or 21-year-old, whatever
he's being a little
is.
creepy, dude.
Dallas Cowboys cornerback Trayvon Diggs, according to ESPN, apologized for the confrontation he had with a TV reporter outside the 49ers locker room back in the last Sunday. Says, quote, "I shouldn't have reacted the way I reacted. I apologize for that. Most of it caught me at the right time."
Yeah, here's another business that shut down too, and I was taken aback to that as well. Weathered Souls, man. It was a good place, dude. Good place to get a brew, grab a bite to eat. Shut down too, man. It's the micro brew scene that they have here. The craft beer scene in San Antonio, it's drying up, man.
The neighborhood bar is drying up. I mean, that's basically what we're saying, right? Not only the breweries, but the idea of going to a neighborhood bar.
The big chains are taking over.
Yeah, I used to go to like what was the last time I went to a neighborhood bar? I used to go to Whiskeys and Rookies.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't go there anymore, because I'm guilty of it also. I'll go to, what's that one? I'll go to a restaurant to go drink, right? Or what's that one that, not Bar Louie. What's the one? It's in the medical center. There's also one on 1604.
Little Woodrow's. Yeah.
I mean, it's a chain, but it's a good chain. It's a fun chain.
It's a nice place, man. They got nice screens and everything in there,
And then we go to Twin Peaks to watch games, Hooters.
Stout House.
It used to be that you would go to neighborhood bars, and even we like to say that it's the young people. The young people are not doing it. No, it's kind of the older people too.
I think needs are changing now. Now that, like I said, the economy has a lot to do with it. People nowadays aren't looking to go ahead and spend extra money on craft beer per se. They just want to go ahead and watch, football or a sporting event, and they just want that cheap beer, dude. They just want something to get the job done. They're drinking their Miller Lights or whatever domestics that they have, cheap, getting something to eat and just kind of hanging around, watching the game, watching a fight or whatnot. People aren't looking to go and spend, a lot of money nowadays. And I understand that the big chains are kind of pricing out the little guy, man.
Yeah, Tim Gonzalez asking about SMU's chances of making the ACC championship. Yeah, I mean, I look at that team and I think that they're playoff bound. I think that they're destined to make the playoffs. Just keep winning. You guys control your destiny more than any other team going on right now.
Oh man, look at what they're saying about Shaq. Shaq is a true cochino. Reason why he's single. And then they said, Mike is cochino level 1. Shaq is cochino level 4.
It's kind of like Fergie back in the day. I can look, but I can't touch, or she'll start some drama.
Yeah.
Ohio State takes on Penn State this weekend, 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox. That is a big game right there. Duke 6-2 taking on Miami 8-0. Miami favored by 20 points. Army taking on Air Force. Army undefeated right now, 21st ranked in the nation.
Man, Army plays a good scheme out there, dude. They kind of have like a little hybrid offensive attack there, and their defense is always solid.
A&M 6:30 on ABC taking on South Carolina. A&M favored by 2.5 points. A&M, the only undefeated team in the SEC right now at 5-0. Tennessee taking on Kentucky. Kentucky's a feisty team, man. They're only 3-5, but they're a feisty team. SMU taking on Pittsburgh, 20th ranked SMU against an 18th ranked Pittsburgh. It's a big game for SMU, man, out there in Dallas.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have to start bringing our show to an end. We've been going on for a little bit now.
So we're off tomorrow, huh?
We're off tomorrow, man. I gotta go ahead and be on daddy duty. My daughter is having a presentation that she's doing in the morning over at UTSA. She's in a competition in the finals here now with some of these other kids that are vying to get a scholarship, to help, with their overall dues that they have to pay for going to UTSA. So it's kind of a big deal for her. So I'm going to go out and support her. We're going to get up early again. I have to be out there and probably be in one of the buildings there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And unfortunately, it's during the time that we're going to do the show.
Well, congratulations to you and your daughter. We'll be praying for her, making sure that she gets those scholarships and gets all those things that she needs for college.
Yeah.
I know my Gabby was able to get a lot of scholarships. People think that you have to go after the big ones, man, but the $500 ones, the $250s, the $1,000s all add up.
That's what my daughter does too. She gets all these little scholarships to kind of help. She already has a scholarship at UTSA, but she gets others to help her with the overall, what she has to pay for her dues to go to college. And then we have to pay the rest of it, which is still expensive.
Mario Cavazos with let's reopen Fatso's. That's old school, man. Was that the one on
Fatso's?
Yeah, Fatso's.
Yeah,
Bandera?
Dude,
Is that
was on Bandera?
Yeah, that was good. I know they had another one on the northeast
man.
side. But Fatso's was great.
I wonder who got the sign of Fatso's. You know how they got the All-Star sign?
Yeah.
Somebody owns that Fatso's sign. It's somewhere. Somebody owns something that said Fatso's, from that old bar. It's out in San Antonio somewhere.
Very nice. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. Go Spurs go tonight against the Jazz. Go Spurs go. They better get this win, man, because if Spurs lose to the Jazz, I'm going to lose myself. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. Everyone have a happy Halloween.
Thanksgiving.
Save me the almond joys.
Oh, man.
Be back on Monday.